Hey guys, what's up? My name is Escher, and a couple of years ago now, actually March of 2022, it's now March of 2024, I released a video called I Built the Outside of a House, which had already taken me back to easily 2020. It's been quite a project, but now I come to you broadcasting from my school bus, so obviously it might be hard to take my word for it, but with the claim that I have now built the inside of a house as well. Very exciting. Unfortunately, I do not have access to it right now because Hannah, my partner, has COVID at the moment, which is unfortunate, and has restricted me to my school bus. But it's fun to be back, and it was making me nostalgic, and so I thought I'd take this opportunity to update you guys on my progress, even though I can't show you. But maybe at the end of the video, I'll be able to go in there and kind of show you around. But for now, I'm just going to talk about it and show you some footage. So, let's start off with a quick recap of what happened last time. You may remember, we purchased this mining cabin for pennies on the dollar, a pretty cheap piece of property because it was sharing a driveway with another piece of property that we already owned. It had no framing. It really probably wouldn't have necessarily ever been built. It was a lot of work. It was only like 300 and some square feet after we tore off all the parts that were no longer viable. And the parts that were there were completely downtrodden, and like the foundation was askew, the walls were barely held up. It was made of 1-bys. There was no insulation beyond a burlap sack and pieces of paper. We essentially erected our 2x6 walls inside the building, and then pushed them up into place, pushing out the 1-by walls on the other side, and then we'd clean the 1-by walls and turn them sideways, and then we nailed them all back on. This was all stuff that, while it was labor intensive, it was also something that I could usually wrap my brain around. There's a lot of 90-degree angles and trying to get things pretty close, and framing, there's some wiggle room, and the layouts and stuff. It was complicated, but now we move on to the inside of the building. This entails things such as electrical, plumbing, etc., which, if you've seen my previous videos, you know I have some experience with, but never in an official capacity. I've done my own work, but usually shoddily and on a budget. We basically did all of it ourselves. I had done some electrical and plumbing and things like that before, but really there was a lot of new things that I had never done before. And so I really can't express enough how much I wouldn't have been able to achieve it without my dad's constant presence and capacity to know what was necessary. Hey buddy. Hey, you want to join me? Hi, yes. Hello, Evan. Hop up. Yo, buddy, come on. Hop up. Yes, there you go. Good boy. But there's a lot that I would have had absolutely no capacity to achieve with simple Google searches or whatever. And in addition to that, he had a lot of understanding of materials and how to go budget with them, and also a lot of understanding and access to old appliances and extra gas line and electrical wire and fittings and stuff like that. So we were able to do a lot for very cheap. But as is always the case when you do things on a budget, this did require extra amounts of labor in certain cases, and the projects were numerous and quite fun. So we started with running the electrical. We did that through our brand new framing, and so it was quite satisfying because it was open concept, very easy to get to everything, very easy to see everything. Just ran a lot of outlets, and I do mean a lot because I've never found a household with too many outlets. And then we ended up putting in 2 full breaker boxes, one that ran half the house and one that ran the other half of the house and connects to the pole. We filled our brand new 2x6 framing with insulation. Then we had to do the drywall, which there's definitely a bit of an art form to. The taping and the mudding, which we were able to get a little bit of help with, which was awesome because it was a lot of work.
We poured windowsills for each window using concrete, and they turned out absolutely fantastic. I love the way that they ended up. We did accidentally freeze them the first night and had to take them all out and grind them down and just replace a couple of them that broke, but
and then the floors, which really tied the whole place together and made it all of a sudden become like a real home. It was just like, went from being this barren pile of nails and wood to being drywall and clean and wood floors. The bathroom was a whole thing. We did the tile in there. The ceiling I had to restore. It was still this beadboard ceiling from the original build, but it was all messed up, and so I painted it with Kills and filled the cracks with caulk and made it look all nice and classy. For the lighting, we did LED, all these little inlaid puck lights that we just basically cut a hole in the beadboard and inlaid them. They have these little arms that just kind of bump, and then they all connect together. That was satisfying and fun. Early on, we spent a bunch of time up in the attic, like vacuuming, and then we painted the bottom with this anti-dust paint material so it wouldn't, but one, drop dust down on top of us, but also it made for a relatively comfortable working environment up in there, although definitely cramped. We built a bunch of the rafters and stuff in there, and curiously we went with a design that was actually more difficult to maneuver throughout but than the ones that they had done originally. But it all works. We got a roof up in there. We ran the gas and the water lines and managed to get a hold of a water heater and a furnace. And at that point, it was basically time to start picking colors because we had our lights, our floor, our walls. It was basically time to paint, which was really exciting. We had fun choosing all of our colors. And suddenly it was painted, and it was very appealing to just go ahead and make ourselves at home, which if you ever talk to anyone who's made a house, they will tell you, don't move in before it's ready. But we had been living in our school bus and between various single-room apartments for quite some time, and so we were basically just ready to crash on the floor if necessary, and so that's what we did, and we basically moved in and kept working around the construction. And so we had no gas line or kitchen to speak of, no cabinetry. We ran the water, got some cold water to a little washing machine and to the sink, and then eventually ran the gas line. We got gas hooked up to a hot water heater. A really big adjustment coming into winter was we filled the attic with insulation, and I actually managed to get a hold of a wood stove, which we installed and has been our primary heat source throughout this winter, which has been fabulous. Since we didn't have gas at the time, I bought a Coleman jacuzzi, like an inflatable $500 jacuzzi, and that's been our primary source of hot water for a little while. So then just recently we put in gas lines, got a gas line run to a hot water heater, which runs hot water to the sink, which is an extremely exciting development. We just put in a clawfoot bathtub, which we've had since the beginning and have always kind of thought that that might be what we use, and now it's finally in place. We got a really cool bath and shower fixture. A really big recent development was we got a hold of this stove that was my dad's. He wasn't sure what he was going to do with. It's like from the 50s. It's like the coolest old stove ever. It's got a grill-elevator. It's got a grill-elevator, you know. Just a masterpiece of industrial design. I'm sure there are copious projects that I've neglected to mention, but the moral of the story was building the inside of a house is a lot of work. That has been my realization across this project. But success is sweet, and I'm hoping that our capacity for creative production should increase to some degree now that we have a solid residence. So subscribe, stick around. My name is Escher is here, and we're still making videos. So join in on the journey. It's been quite a journey so far, and I'm sure it's just getting started. And with all that said, let's go take a little gander at the real house, shall we? Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to film from out here for fear of infection. But you guys enjoy the tour. I've got you a very good tour guide.
Welcome to your tour of the Quarantine Palace. Oh, that was cinematic. The rest of it will not be. I will be your guide today, Hannah. I was recently infected with COVID-19. These are my 2 toilet paper rolls. I have 2 because I thought I was out, but I wasn't. A necklace in a pot. I was like really craving tahini the first 2 days of my COVID, so I asked Escher to get me tahini, and now I don't want tahini anymore. This is Escher's side of the room versus my side of the room. Shout out to Perry. But I did sweep yesterday.